Hello, everybody. Hi. Sorry, I can't turn my phone around because it won't let me. This is going to be the first video I will do for this upcoming YouTube channel that me and some friends have created. And I was going to do a review on all the movie soundtracks I currently have on CD because I have tons of them I wanted to talk about. But I realized, you know what, for time allotted, I want to focus on something else. I want to focus on something I actually have become a fan of in the years to follow. And thanks to the movie and me acquiring a few of the comics that throughout the years, I decided to focus on this guy, Howard the Duck. Yes, Marvel. And as you can see here, I have a few of the comics. This was actually one of the more recent ones called What the Duck. I forget what year it was issued in. Doesn't say. It probably says here in the inside. I'll have to look it up. It usually gives a. But I think it was sometime in the mid or late 2010s when this mid to early 2010s when this comic book came out. So, but here's a few of the older ones. I actually got these for a Christmas present. They're still shrink wrapped, as you can see here. There's another one. I never opened them. I never pulled them out, so they are as they are. They came like this. Yeah, you can see from the sides they are a little. They have been used, but it's nice that they're actually shrink wrapped. And no, I have not. I have no intention of opening them because they're basically collectibles. And here's the last one I have. It's pretty neat. Of course, I have the movie on Blu-ray. One of my absolute all-time favorite movies. Argue with me if you want, and mock me if you want, but this is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time because, like the movie, I was misunderstood growing up. You know, the movie was I was bullied, I was picked on, but hey, like the movie, it too was bullied and picked on upon its release because it was a flop. It was a huge flop at the box office, and it was such a financial failure that it about killed George Lucas's career as a filmmaker. Not to mention, at the time, the budget of the movie was $37 million, which, yeah, that was a lot of money. I mean, in fact, that was the most expensive production George Lucas was involved with up to that point. Before that, I think it was Return of the Jedi, and that was like, what, $32.5 million, I think. Howard the Duck, $37 million, and yet a lot of people still wonder why he decided to make a movie based on this comic book. Was George Lucas a fan of the comic, I guess? I guess he was. And he decided to get Gloria Katz and Willard Huyck to be involved. And they worked with George Lucas before. They worked with him on American Graffiti, and actually both of them picked up Oscar nominations for the screenwriting. And they worked with George again on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Well, writing-wise, probably not the best, but American Graffiti, of course, that was the highlight of George Lucas's career, though. But yeah, Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz, and of course Willard directing and Gloria producing. You know, it's like, I'll give it a shot. Of course, you know, watching the movie as a kid, I grew up and loved it, and years later, I still enjoy it. Yeah, it's a goofy movie. It has its goofy moments. I mean, the duck puns galore, like, you know, no more Mr. Nice Duck, no one laughs at a master of quack foo. You know, you get the puns. But honestly, though, Howard the Duck has a certain charm to it that holds up very well. And it's just one of those movies that, you know, you watch it. I mean, back in the day, it was like made the butt of a joke after it came out because, you know, there were people that were afraid to say they liked it. Very few, actually. And of course, it's been made the butt of a joke for years to come. Like on one of the interviews on the Blu-ray here, Ed Gale, who played Howard, he actually says he saw a show where there was a party the characters are having and it flopped, and one character was like, "Oh, this is worse than Howard the Duck." In the movie National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, there's a scene in which Emilio Estevez and Samuel Jackson's character go into it ends up parroting a scene from Silence of the Lambs where there's a camera shot where it passes by like all these torture devices, and on the wall, taped on the wall is a VHS copy of Howard the Duck. I'm like, when I first saw that, I'm like, I don't know if I got the joke, but years later I finally did. I'm like, oh, now I get it. Because the movie was such a tremendous it's such a tremendous failure that it was just what to say. But give me a second here. I have a book in here. You have to give me a moment because I'm kind of. Let me see if I can pull it out here. I don't know. Give me a moment here. I'm going to sit the phone down. It's going to be pitch black for a moment, but sorry. Sorry about this, but I really should have prepared for this, but hey, why not? I mean, but this is, sorry, I want to move it out of the way here so it doesn't get knocked off. Phone's got a crack on the screen, so I don't want to ruin it anymore. Okay, here we go. This book was what I was wanting to pull out, the Sci-Fi Movie Freak book here. This book in here, Howard the Duck, is actually in here, but it's near the back of the lid. It's near the back of the. It's near the back here somewhere. Yeah, it was Battlefield Earth. There it is, Howard the Duck. Here we go. Yeah, the line they use in the book is "prepare to eat beak," but yeah. So yeah, pretty much. You can tell that this is one of the. This is in the category of. Let's see here. It's Plan 9. Robot Monster, of the failures. Yeah, Howard the Duck's considered a big failure, and it is. But nowadays, with the amount of, like, you know, the copies the movie sold, and the fact that the movie has now gotten an ever-growingly huge fan base, this movie has now basically recuperated all the money that it lost. And a fun note is that George Lucas actually, he lost a lot of money off of this movie. He ended up spending $50 million to buy a ranch for a new studio he was planning to create and film. And once the movie flopped, he basically had to sell that ranch to make up for the amount of money he lost on the production of the film. And in the end, he ended up selling the studio, to Steve Jobs of Apple, who, and of course, that studio eventually became an animation studio. And that studio is now one of the biggest animation studios of all time in existence, and they've done many great animated movies. And of course, if you can't figure out yet what it is, it's Pixar. That animation studio that George Lucas bought, or the ranch that he bought, later became a film studio, and it became an animation studio, and it became Pixar. So in other words, Howard the Duck gave birth to Pixar. And also, Howard the Duck was the first film ever made based on a Marvel comic to get a theatrical release, but not the first movie made based on a Marvel comic. There were a couple of things made in the past. There was a Captain America movie made for television back in the 70s. There were some serials made. But Howard the Duck was the first film based on Marvel to get a theatrical release, long before the days of Spider-Man, Iron Man, and all the other films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Howard the Duck was the first. And many actually consider it a member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since Howard actually did appear in at least 3 of the Marvel movies. He was in both Guardians of the Galaxies and of course, had a brief, not even a second of an appearance in Avengers Endgame. It's like blink and you'll miss, pretty much. But if you know where he is in the film, for anybody that had seen Endgame many times, you pretty much know where he is at that point. So the movie does live on. It has a charm of its own. And many of the stars that appeared in the movie were kind of afraid to work afterward, like Leah Thompson, who played Beverly. She was actually afraid to work in film after Howard the Duck. The next film she made after Howard the Duck came out in '86, the next movie she went on to make was Some Kind of Wonderful with director Howard Dutch, who later she married and still married to this day. And she looks back on Howard the Duck pretty fondly, which I'm glad to see. I would love to meet her in person one day and, see her at a film convention. And I know she's probably going to be waiting for people to ask about, Back to the Future. But honestly, for me, the one I'm going to talk about her the most, Howard the Duck. Absolutely. Jeffrey Jones went on to have a big career in film. He went on to he got picked up by Tim Burton in Beetlejuice. And he went on to do a couple of movies with him. Tim Robbins, who appeared in Howard the Duck, he went on to have a decent career in acting. Shawshank Redemption, and of course, winning an Academy Award for Mystic River for Clint Eastwood. Ed Gale, who played Howard, actually went on to appear in a couple of movies, many films after. The following year, he got picked up by Mel Brooks to be one of the Dinks in Spaceballs. And he got to be the stunt double for Chucky in Child's Play. And there was another star from Howard the Duck who appeared in Child's Play. Tommy Swerdlow, the actor that played Ginger. He was the manager of the Cherry Bomb band that Beverly was a part of. He was that one police lieutenant in Child's Play that nearly got strangled to death by Chucky at the end of the movie. So there's 2 stars from Howard the Duck who appeared in Child's Play, which was a profitable hit. That movie was successful. The visual effects company that worked on Howard the Duck, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, they actually won a Razzie for worst visual effects in Howard the Duck, but the following year, they made the movie they worked on the film Inner Space for director Joe Dante, and that film won the Oscar for best visual effects. The year after that, Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. ILM worked on that movie. That film won an Oscar for its visuals. And in 1989, the following year, The Abyss came out. ILM worked on that movie. And that film also picked up an Academy Award for visual effects. Phil Tippett, who actually designed the Dark Overlord monster on Howard the Duck, he actually was an Academy Award winner up to that point. He had won the Special Achievement Oscar for the visuals on Return of the Jedi. And 7 years later, the 1993 Jurassic Park came out, and he actually won an Oscar for the visuals on that movie. How you like that? And John Barry, who... where's he? There he is right there. John Barry, who did the music in the film, best known for scoring many of the James Bond movies. 4 years later, after Howard the Duck, he scored Dances with Wolves for Kevin Costner. Won an Academy Award for the music on that movie. So many people, almost everybody that worked on this movie had gone on to have successful careers. George Lucas managed to make a comeback a couple years later with, not a big comeback, but he did Willow, which was, more successful, but not the big hit that he was hoping for. Then again, 1986 was not a good year for George Lucas anyway, because, that year he'd also done Labyrinth for Jim Henson, which also was a big failure, but in the years to follow, it turned into a massive cult favorite. But Labyrinth didn't get anywhere near the negative attention Howard the Duck did. Labyrinth, went on to become a bona fide classic fantasy film, and it's often regarded as one of the best fantasy movies of the 80s. Howard the Duck, there's still people, it's still got, although it's lingering more toward the positive side, the fan base, like I said, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day. Every year it gets bigger and bigger. But there's still people out there that still think it's one of the worst movies of all time. Even though George Lucas said it perfectly, 25 years from now, the film will be rediscovered, and it'll look good for its time period, even though that's kind of what happened. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it has. I think it's aged very well, and I think it holds up over the test of time. So honestly, though, I'm proud to say it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Sometimes I get a little irked when people say, how can you love this movie? I keep saying, how can you not love this movie? Yeah, it's full of goofiness. It's got some parts in the film that make you want to go, ugh, a couple of times. But I kind of look past all that, and I look at all the good stuff in the movie. I look at all the positive stuff. Oh, as for the Blu-ray release here, Howard the Duck, honestly, I'm actually glad Universal finally gave this film the treatment it rightfully deserves. I'm so glad. This is the best I've ever seen the film look. There's probably other releases out there that are better. I think there's the one that was made in the UK that is better, but this is the one I was hoping for, and I'm glad it's available finally. Came out in 2016. Perfect time, 30th anniversary of the movie, so couldn't have picked a better release time. The video and audio are both fantastic. Bonus features aren't too bad either. There's there's a retro documentary that's a must-see for fans of the movie. It's a 2-part documentary. It's basically, first part's called Looking Back at Howard. It's like a retro on the movie. Releasing the Duck, it's post-production. The release of the film, the initial reaction, and the eventual redemption and cult status it achieved. And there's a couple of, 1, 2, 3... There's 4 retro featurettes that are basically featurettes that were made during the production of the movie. Shows how the stunts were done, special effects, the music, and a news featurette. It's kind of like a promo, and of course, we got teaser trailers. So this was a movie that George Lucas, was hoping to be a big hit, but it ended up backfiring horribly. The other sad thing is that Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz, the director and producer of the film, sadly, they did not make another film after this movie. Even though they got many offers to do many things afterward, but in the end, they really didn't do much. How Willard Huyck never directed another film after Howard the Duck. But, hey, like I said, if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It may be bad, people may say, dude, why you got to see this movie? It's bad. I mean, it picked up 4 Razzie Awards. It was a Worst Picture Razzie winner. But it's just one of those movies from the 80s, like people like, there was a Howard the Duck. But the thing is, this movie actually is popular, believe it or not. The more people talk about this movie, the more popular it gets, like Battlefield Earth. Despite how much negativity the movie has thrown against it, no matter what you think, it's a popular movie. It was not a big hit in the theaters, but the more people talk about it, the more home video copies people will buy. And it recently got a Blu-ray, Battlefield Earth did. I'll have to talk about that one soon, too. And the final thing I have here is something that a lot of people wouldn't expect me to own, is the soundtrack. I got the soundtrack to Howard the Duck on CD. Yeah, it was a decent amount of money. It cost me like $42, but it was $42 well worth spent because there's 3 CDs in here. It's the entire film score by John Barry, plus a lot of unused and additional music by Sylvester LeVay, and the 3rd CD. Well, I'm going to open it up here real quick. Oh, by the way, let me pop open the disc of Howard the Duck, show you what the disc looks like here. So there's the Blu-ray. Yeah, it's pretty mediocre. It's blue. It's a red disc, so it's weird. That's pretty much all there is. So I'm going to pop open Howard the Duck here. Be careful because the discs, that they can pop out, so I got to be careful here when I'm opening it up. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. That's disc 1. Yeah, they're kind of, yeah, there's the booklet here. I think the 2nd disc is below it. Yeah, there's disc 2. Yeah, discs 1 and 2 basically have the film score all together. I think the 1st disc has all the John Barry stuff. The 2nd disc has has like additional music they scored and all the Sylvester LeVay stuff that got added. And the 3rd disc is all the songs, like the stuff by Thomas Dolby and all the songs the Cherry Bomb Band perform. Yeah. All in all, this is an excellent package. Excellent, well put together package for the soundtrack. If you can somehow get your hands on it, it's well worth it. It's a lot of fun. The music is great to listen to. And Dances with Wolves is not the only film that John Barry took home an Academy Award for. There was at least one other that he did. So, and the film score for Howard the Duck is really, yeah, the way I hold it almost looks like an LP now. But it's not. Yeah, Howard the Duck, you can get the LP, the vinyl record version, but honestly, when I was finally glad to see the soundtrack available on CD, I had to get it. And I am so glad I own it. So that's all my Howard the Duck. That's all the stuff I own of Howard the Duck. And I'm glad to talk to you about a little bit of the history of the film. And there's got the comics, new one, and of course the soundtrack and the movie, of course. So I'm actually very proud to have all this stuff. While it's not much, but it's still great to have. So that concludes this video. I hopefully be getting another one out soon, and until then, everybody, take care and be safe, and have a good day.